Okay, I think no matter how many kids you've had, if you are a mom, you have experienced the feeling of being in the trenches, feeling completely burned out, and feeling totally overwhelmed. And I know I have definitely experienced those feelings in some seasons more than others, but I'm so thankful that it's not a place I continually feel like I'm in. And I think the only reason for that is because of the things I'm going to be sharing with you today. That being said, I still do experience overwhelm and burnout at times. And if I fail to do any of the things I share with you today, I quickly fall back into that feeling of just kind of hardly being able to keep my head above the water. So I'm really excited to be kind of taking you through a basic layout of my day and the habits that I've developed every single day that have helped me be able to manage both having 3 kids in 3 years and then also still doing a lot of hobbies I really enjoy doing and not feeling burned out or overwhelmed or frustrated at my kids because they're taking away my precious alone time or something like that. So to get started, I want to run you through my day because every single one of these things that I'm going to be sharing with you is a piece to why I don't continually feel overwhelmed, even with a lot of little kids. My day always starts out with me getting up a couple of hours before my kids to do my Bible and to work out. This is so helpful because it gets my body and my mind in the right space to start out the day with the right priorities, and that's so helpful. And on the days I miss one of these, my stride just feels off the rest of the day. The next thing I do every single day is that I try to take some time to get ready. And I made a whole video on this, I can have linked down below as well. But I have found that so much of the success of my day goes back to how much intention I put in at the beginning of the day. Did I take a couple minutes to do my hair, to put on an outfit where I don't just feel shabby and bad about myself? Did I maybe put on a little bit of makeup? Whatever it is that makes you as a mother feel your very best so you can come to your kids having your best self up front. I've found that to be huge, where you don't just feel all bedraggled. The next thing, I try to plan my day almost every single day. Usually I'll do this right after my workout and my Bible time. I'll make a rough to-do list. I always like to plan a little bit more on my to-do list than I can probably actually accomplish. But the reason for that is I've found that actually within motherhood, we have enough spare time, even though we feel like we're drowning, that we end up procrastinating and wasting all this time, but still having all these burdens in our mind of things we still have to accomplish. And so I try to limit that as much as is possible by creating a very detailed to-do list of all the things I want to accomplish that day to make myself feel a bit more urgent and like I have to stay on top of my game. And I find I just waste so much less time and I'm so much more productive when I have that list I can go back to whenever I have a moment where I'm like, I have all these things I need to do. What do I need to do next? That being said, as I've gradually had more kids, I've really tried to become more disciplined with everyday habits I do consistently. And so now I don't actually make a to-do list every single day because I have so many things now that I do, whether they're on my list or not, because I've developed the habit and I hardly even have to think about it. So I want to run through those real quick because this automatically guarantees to myself I'm going to accomplish these things whether they're on a list or not. So like I said, I usually get up a couple hours before my kids, immediately work out, do my Bible, usually plan my day. My kids get up sometime after that, I get ready for the day. We have breakfast. While we're doing breakfast, I do Bible with my kids. We'll practice some verses sometimes. We might do a little bit of school. And then after that, we have about a 15 or 20 minute time where we sit on the sofa and I read to my little kids. This is usually the time I'll nurse the baby. I practice teaching my kids to be able to sit still while I read to them really exciting, educational, fun books. And so this has been so helpful because I have a 1.5-year-old who is so rambunctious and she's so fun, but she has endless energy and she has been really difficult to get to sit still or have a very long attention span. So while she definitely still has a long ways to go, this practice time every single day has helped so much with her being able to sit in church a bit better and her being able to sit on our laps a bit better and just things like that that are so helpful. But I've been shocked by how hard they can actually be to train your kids to do naturally. After that, I put my 1.5-year-old down for a nap typically, and my 4-year-old and I go around and we do what we call a 10-minute tidy. And this is so great because I'm pretty much able to do all the breakfast dishes, and my 4-year-old goes around and picks up all the clutter in the house, and then I go around and do whatever else I can do just in 10 minutes, and then we're both free to go outside. So usually we'll garden, we'll spend the rest of the morning outside. Our next block of habits that we have is around lunchtime. We'll usually come in, have lunch, and then my kids all do a 2-hour quiet time, except for the baby. I'm training him right now, but he's still in the training process. So this is a time where I can do anything that requires a lot of focus, that requires an attention span that I just can't have with the distraction of the little kids. And this is so, so helpful. I know there's different moms out there that literally have their kids with them from the time they wake up to the time them as a parent goes to bed. And I don't know how you can't get burnt out with that long of a day with just no time to yourself, no time to catch up. So this is my focus time where I do whatever it is that I need to get done that I really can't do well with kids. Another thing that I wanted to mention that I think is really important is that if you pour into your kids in the morning, they are so much more apt to be entertained and to find things to do themselves, and not to be whining and complaining and constantly trying to get your attention throughout the rest of the day. So that's really, really helpful with just giving you some more kind of bandwidth to get done what it is that you need to accomplish as a mom. We have dinner around 6 usually, and then by usually 7:30 for sure, my 1.5-year-old is in bed, and by about 8, my 4-year-old is typically in bed. And this gives me an hour where I'm able to totally clean up my house, do the dishes, and get my kitchen clean. And this has been so, so amazing because it gives me a fresh start every single day. And if you're wondering, how can you even get your house cleaned up within an hour? I'm gonna be talking about that later in the video. Currently, because I get rid of actually more the more kids I have rather than collecting more, it becomes actually easier and easier, and it feels more and more possible. I sweep, sometimes I'll mop, I clean up the kitchen, I do the dishes, and I'll sometimes throw in a load of laundry, pick up the clutter, and my house is ready for me to start the next day, and I don't feel completely overwhelmed immediately coming out in the morning and already seeing a day's worth of work ahead of me. I have a clean slate, which is an amazing feeling. The last thing that I do every single day that I think is really important is to have some type of a self-care routine. Like I mentioned, I get ready in the morning, and that is kind of a way that I'm able to just put a little bit of time into myself where I feel put together, I feel good. But also in the evening, after I do all that, I usually take a bath. Sometimes I'll just sit there and enjoy total quiet. Sometimes I'll visit with my husband, sometimes I'll read a book. But it's just a time where I'm able to kind of decompress and relax at the end of a day, shave my legs so I don't feel like a complete bear, and you just feel human, which I think is really important as moms. So those are the things I want to share that are kind of my daily habits that I do almost every single day, and I immediately feel off if I don't do them. The next thing though, I want to dive into some more things that I just try to keep in mind and do consistently. Outside of having a wonderful husband who's very supportive with our kids and having the Lord to give me strength, the next thing that I would say is the most important for not feeling completely overwhelmed and like you're drowning as a mom is to declutter and systematize your whole house. Now, this is a journey. This is something I constantly am doing all the time. Probably several times a week, almost every day, as I'm doing the laundry. If you haven't seen my laundry video, watch that if laundry is kind of a pain point for you. I'm cleaning things out. I'm cleaning out the toys. I'm getting rid of this dish. I'm constantly purging. And like I mentioned, I don't know if it's this way for everybody, but for me, every single item I see in my home gives me a certain level of stress, because ultimately I know at the end of the day, it's me that's in charge of picking that up, of putting it back away, of finding a spot for it. And so I don't like to have lots of stuff around that is constantly giving me a longer to-do list. And so maybe there will be a day when I have more decorations around, but for now, less is best. So I'm constantly getting rid of stuff. And like I mentioned, although we have 3 kids now, I think I probably have the same amount of clothes for 3 kids that I had when I just had 1, because I'm just constantly purging. I'm very savage about it because It is what keeps my head above the water. It is what keeps me from feeling like all I do every day as a mom is just go behind my kids and pick up all this crap that I bought for them. Like, that's not the type of life that I want to live. Sorry, I get very passionate about that. That's not the type of life that I want to live. That's not fulfilling. And I think in motherhood, one of the reasons why sometimes we don't feel fulfilled is because we haven't created habits and systems to be effective and efficient. And so we have time to actually be with the kids that we created, that we're doing all these things for, rather than just doing all the things but ignoring the kids. If you want more on decluttering and purging, a great book that I would recommend is called Declutter Like a Mother. She kind of starts at the beginning and works you through your entire house. And I've already done that so many times in my home, and I still have so far I want to go. But I did think as a beginner, it would be such a helpful book to read if you feel a little bit lost. So that's my first thing. The next thing that I think is so key that will eliminate 90% of the frustration you feel with your kids is to, at the season you're in as a mother, find hobbies you can do with your kids and get rid of the things you can't, or fit them into a time block you have where your kids are taking naps or in bed for the night. There is nothing that has frustrated me as much as a mom as trying to do these passions that I have that require all of my attention when my kids are around. I used to try and do this. I used to do a lot more YouTube. I used to do a lot more things on here. And the reason why I don't is because I've realized I would way rather enjoy this season as a mom and love my kids who are my goal than get distracted by all these things that do not matter, that make me angry at my ultimate goal rather than make me love them more. So, we're creative as women. Find hobbies you can do with your kids that you're equally excited about. So for me, that was gardening. I love gardening. It's something I can do all day long and my kids are completely happy outside playing. Put a hose in a pile of dirt and they are happy for hours. Raising animals. The farm life is awesome when you have little kids. Also, we have a whole piece of property right now that is like a canvas that we're just able to landscape on, plant trees on, plant flowers on, be outside on all day long. And so I've tried to really dive into those things and leave those more detailed projects. You guys know I would love to write, but I've had to constantly steer my mind back to no, that is not the goal right now. This is a season I will never be in again. This is a season that I will one day really miss, and I will be so saddened to think I had this one stage with my kids I'll never have again, and I missed it because I was focused on all these things that literally don't matter. Nature studies, reading great books, wandering outside in the field and just looking at flowers together, taking walks and getting to know your neighbors and becoming friends. All of those things are things I think are so fun to do that you can do with your kids. Getting in shape is a great thing you can do with your kids. Taking walks with them, going on hikes with them, all of that stuff. Another piece of advice I would have is to fill your day. Now, I'm not somebody who likes tons of things I feel obligated to do. However, I love having moms over here with little kids. I love going over about once a week to my mom's house for a day, and my mom will watch my kids, she'll hold my baby, we'll visit together, and then maybe I'll sweep and mop her floors. This last winter, we went through and kind of decluttered her whole house. She had 6 kids, she had a lot of stuff to get rid of. And so filling up your day with things where you have a little bit more urgency when you are at home to actually be productive and to not just sit around and think about the next thing you should do, but actually just get up and do it. And then also finding people that you can kind of trade maybe skills you have with for them to play with your kids. So that's what I kind of do with my mom. Not only do we visit, she'll watch the kids and I'll clean. My sister will watch the kids. And it's just a way to feel like I'm doing something different and I'm not having to hold my baby. And I'm able to have that little break and enjoy other adults, which is also really helpful in motherhood. So I encourage you, maybe you don't have a mom around, but maybe you have a friend. Maybe you can say, hey, can I come over and the kids can play out in the yard and I can help you clean? Or you can watch the kids and I'll clean your house for you. Just something to change things up and to fill up your day with things that you actually enjoy doing. I'm not big on a lot of like really social, stressful settings, but going to somebody's house that I'm comfortable with and helping them with something is wonderful, or just hanging out with people that I love and care about, different moms that I know, different friends that I have, is just a really fun thing. Another thing I haven't done but I read about from, I think her name is Rachel Jankovic, and she wrote a book called Loving the Little Years. She had 5 kids in 5 years, a set of twins in there, and maybe I haven't even come to the trench years yet. I'm not quite sure, because I read the things she describes and I'm like, wow, that sounds intense. But she talks about how she had something she had made up called the 20-minute rule. And when she felt like things were just going under and going down, she would look at the clock and she would say, probably within 20 minutes, this chaotic situation will have been resolved. And then rather than sitting down and crying or just throwing up her hands and giving up or just getting all mad at her kids, she had that 20-minute finish line that she could look forward to and maintain her sanity for just those 20 minutes and accomplish what it was that was the problem or multiple problems. And she said oftentimes at the end of the 20 minutes, all the problems would be resolved and I had been able to keep my cool because I had that deadline of, if I can stay in tune and finish these things for 20 minutes, things will be okay. I thought that was really helpful. The next thing that I think is really important is to look for solutions to consistent pain points. What I mean by this is I think it's really easy as a mom, and I found myself doing this basically as I've had each kid, just with different things. You'll go through these seasons and it'll just feel like this certain time of day is so hard. For me right now, it's dinner time. It's been that way really ever since I've had my third. And it was that way actually when I had Cassie, my second, as well, where dinner time just felt so hard, trying to get food on the table, keep things from burning. The kids are tired and fussy at that time. They're hungry, and I can just not maintain the house having a bit of sanity while being able to make somewhat of a decent dinner. And so I realized, because this was just happening every single night, it was like that's the exact time Coolty needs to be nursed, and Carrie and Cassie are just destroying the house, or they both want to help, but it's just being wrecked. I realized I don't need to just accept this. I can find a solution. And so quite a few days of the week now, I will prep part of dinner earlier in the day at a time of day when either the kids are napping or they're content by themselves. And that is so helpful with dinner coming around and having maybe 10 minutes to finish putting something together, rather than having a total hour where the house is just destroyed and I just really honestly get very frustrated. And so instead of spending an hour of chaos in the house, I'll either barbecue and the kids can play outside, and so all the mess is out there, or I can actually take a walk through the neighborhood, around on the country roads, while dinner is in the oven baking. And it's just so much more what I would prefer. And so I really encourage you, find solutions if you have something that keeps coming up, because I really think if it's a consistent thing, you can start to observe how you can change it and make it be easier. And so for me right now, that's dinner time, and it's prepping dinners ahead of time. It's also making enough dinners that I can freeze, so on those really difficult nights of the week, I can just pull out something and I don't even have to cook dinner. It's so helpful. I think training with your kids is also key, but it's really not something I feel like I'm at the point in motherhood yet where I can speak with any type of authority, because I'm totally just figuring stuff out and just we're just learning as we go. So while I think training is super key and being proactive is so important with training your kids to be well behaved and just to be enjoyable around, I don't have any exact pointers that I feel good about giving, because I'm just so early on in this stage and my kids are all so different and it's so much fun. But I definitely see the importance of being really proactive in your training. Those are the tips I have for you. I hope they're helpful. If there's anything that you have found as a mom or as someone who's already completely maybe out of this season that you just felt like that was so helpful and I wish I had learned that sooner, if it wasn't something I mentioned, please comment it down below for the sake of myself and for all the other young moms out there who are figuring out as we go how to navigate these seasons of just really kind of being on call 24/7. So, all right. Hope this was helpful for you all, and I will hopefully see you again in another video. All right, you guys.